Hey friends, so I want to talk a little bit about the protests that went on across the nation yesterday. But for those of you who don't know, I should give you a little bit of background with myself so you might understand that I have a different perspective than most people. So I'm a mental projector. For those of you who know, well, you know. For those who don't, my type is 2% of the world, and we see the big picture. We tend to take evidence from all sides and kind of come to a middle ground in understanding, why people do what they do. So I'm not really biased. I like to play the devil's advocate, but it's not to cause an argument, it's to find truth. So I also have a bit of a gift. I'm able to read people's energy from afar. Pictures are helpful, and I can see the energy of the chakras. So when you understand what the different movements of a pendulum are on the chakras, you can see whether, say, a person's heart chakra is open or whatever. So I have found that these are not based on bias, which mental projectors don't generally have. It is what it is, and I'm not wrong. It's not a cocky thing to say that. It's just I'm a channel of the energy, and I'm able to read people. It's one of the things that people find very triggering about my type. Actually, I have an energy beam that gets right into the heart of things and people. And for that reason, I really don't date. It tends to cause problems because, like, somebody gave me this shirt. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. That is the number one complaint of my boyfriends, that I'm always right. And it's pretty humbling. So you have to have really good energy to be around a person who tends to see your issues. It's not to say I don't see the good. I am not a critical person, but if somebody is around me that has problems, unfortunately, because of my open centers in human design, I feel it. I know when there's a problem, and I have to leave that person, that situation, if it is something I am very uncomfortable with, unfortunately. So, yeah. Anyways, they say we need to be in an environment that is very much us, because we create the environment. Well, no, we suck in the environment. It's more what I meant to say. We become our environment. And so it's very common for our type to kind of become hermits a lot, and then be really good with people in the moments that we do have energy to deal with people. And we have a lot less energy than most people, so we're tired a lot. But that's a whole side note. Anyways, so the protests. It was really interesting to note the crowd that came. There were basically middle-aged and older white people. I hardly saw any minorities, which is unusual for a democratic protest. Perhaps somebody will correct me on that, but all the ones I've seen have been pretty much middle-aged white people, older white people. So I was looking at the pictures, trying to, get the demographic. What are these people like? And they weren't rioting. This was actually a good protest. Well-behaved people for the most part. There was some that were dancing in the street, some that were blocking a little bit of traffic. It wasn't the worst of the riots, that's for sure. And I'm gonna go with it's the older white people demographic. So anyways, I also wanted to do an energy read on the crowd in general. So I spent quite a bit of time on what I see as the typical energy issues, if you want to call it, of the people that are on the left. And so I narrowed in on their third eye and their crown chakra, which I believe that's where all your beliefs come from. Sometimes they stem from, insecurities, fears, closed heart. It depends on if it's more of a behavioral thing versus a mental thing. So I wanted to see, are these people healthy? Now, you could look at statistics on mental health, stuff like that, and you could get a bigger picture of it. But I wanted to personally take a swath of many of these crowds and do an energy read of these people. I was really not trying to be biased, looking for the most nutty people. I thought, okay, these people look kind of normal, right? So not one in the entire crowd that I found at these No Kings rallies around, not one of them had a balanced third eye. Not one of them in combination also had a balanced crown chakra. There was one that had a crown chakra that was open, but in combination with a blocked third eye, which says delusional. So what that really means is either fantasy thinking, overactive, or delusional was found in all of them, and they were not doing what their conscience, with their still small voice would say, except the one who was delusional. So he didn't know any better, basically, is what that comes down to. So I thought, well, just to be fair, I mean, the whole population is not too spiritual, honestly. So let's look at maybe, say, the January 6th insurrection. Let's look at a swath of those people, maybe many swaths, in fact, and see if these people are any better off. It's hard to find really good people. So I did. And I was actually quite surprised. There wasn't one person who didn't have both their third eye and their crown chakra open that was in that crowd. Now, just to play the devil's advocate, I was like, maybe it's because they were at such a high vibe together in a group, and that does actually get you in a much better place. And on the other hand, maybe the other people, being around a lot of kind of nutty people, were bringing each other down. That's why a lot of those protests that are starting out, peaceful protests that Democrats start, they tend to get very violent. But I think it's the older demographic, the wider demographic in this one. I haven't heard of any, burning down their cities or anything like that so far. But again, educate me if it's happened. So anyways, what I'm getting out of that is that the saying that liberalism is a mental disorder is actually true. And this is from a very unbiased perspective. I am literally trying to look at the energy of both sides. But there's no denying they have a lot of problems in their third eye and their crown chakra, which long term actually creates mental problems if it's not immediately evidenced, which it is in statistical studies of mental health. So, for a person who is just a young person, a little naive, hasn't gotten out in the world very much, do you want to be in a good place? Do you want to be around people who are mentally healthy? Or do you want to be part of a demographic who are, by average, very delusional, fantasy thinking kind of people? It's your choice. But I think the choice is obvious if, you don't have a delusional mindset. And then, there's no helping you, unfortunately. I'm trying to wake up people, though, who have this fantasy mindset. They really believe somehow, for instance, that we're losing our freedoms and we're, having a king over us. And furthermore, that would be a bad thing. Have you noticed changes in the country? Have you noticed inflation going way down? Have you noticed a lot of crime being dealt with? Have you noticed the borders actually being secure? Do you really not want that? Or are you delusional? So yeah, anyways, that's my thoughts for the day from a mental projector who is supposed to be guiding the world. If you don't like it, what does that say about your third eye? Just saying. Bye.